Hello, how's everybody? Um, had a long day. I hope everybody's doing fine. It was kind of slow today at work. Um, I got a comment. I got a comment on this morning. I was looking at the comments, and I saw one comment. It was edited, and I looked up what edited was on YouTube. There's two kinds of editor. You edit yourself, and the system edits. So the system must have edited this person. I was going to, I'm almost sure I could look at the unedited version, but I didn't. Okay, there's another way of doing that. So I didn't have time to do that. Maybe I'll do it later and come back. But this comment was really, um, I wish I had the one that wasn't edited. But it was really, it was just different. It was something that I had to think about. And I'll read it to you. I only have one context because this other context was bothering my eye. So maybe I'll put my glasses on. Okay, so here's a comment. It says, it is an excellent point. They were talking about, I'm not going to say which video it was, does make a difference. But it was an excellent point. Good insight on your part. And then he goes, we were made to believe, we were make-believe ministers. We lived in a fantasy world waiting for Jehovah. They're Jehovah. Obedience to Watchtower. Okay. Now I can tell that I can see where it was just cut off so much. Okay. But it's interesting. I got a lot out of this. Okay. So I appreciate the person saying excellent point and good insight. Thank you very much. I got it from everybody else. We're all working together. And we were make-believe ministers. Okay. Yes, it was all make-believe. The reason why I can say that for sure is because it made me think. It made me think about where the Jehovah Witnesses are. I mean, how can they not be ministers and how can they not be publishers? Well, for one main point is I can't say hierarchy, but who's they're serving, okay? They don't have anyone to serve. I mean, they think that they're serving God for the most part, I would think. But you have the Jehovah Witnesses, which are guarded by an organization, okay? So a Jehovah organization, okay? Not God, but Jehovah organization. I mean, because everything that they learn is all disjointed. And I can get to that. But what I'm saying, if you look at the picture, just look at the picture. You have the Jehovah Witnesses, and then you have this organization. The organization doesn't really say that they're Jehovah Witnesses. I mean, from the research that I had, of course, the most likely they have people who they would have to have people who are not Jehovah Witnesses. I mean, to run an organization, global organization nowadays, with the things that you have to do, I mean, you pretty much have to get along with everybody. And I'm getting all these points. Just one point, I hope, and then I can come back, is that in actuality, we all are one. God said we all are one, okay? And there's definitely a lot of proof that we have to be one if we can get along and we could do things together and we can live together, we have to be one, okay? So what I'm saying is that the governing body and those who organize them have to come to terms with this big oneness as a world, okay, in order for them to operate. So where does that leave Jehovah Witnesses? It leaves Jehovah Witnesses in like nowhere. I mean, just suspended, you know. because they're not taking care of. Okay, see, like in in other religions. I mean, I'm not going to say other religions. I'm going to say in Christianity. Um, you can become a pastor, and you can become, and you can work, you know, for the organization of the church. Okay, I'm not getting into politics, but as a Jehovah's Witness, you have ministerial servant. It's not even real. Then you can be an elder, and you can work for Bethel, but you can't like go in and see how everything is operating. I mean, I want to say as religions, I mean, they have to, um, at some point, or let the people know that God is the one that is over them all. But in a Jehovah's Witness relationship, in a Jehovah's Witness, as far as a Jehovah's Witness is concerned, the governing body is, which brings back a YouTube a while back saying that, how was I going to put it? Because what I'm trying to say is they're just not there. I mean, they don't have, I'm not saying the power, they don't have God's arrangement, okay? Because they only can do the things that the governing body tells them to do, okay? So what I'm trying to say is they don't really have a position. They don't really have a structure, you know? To make this clear, it's like, for instance, everything they're taught is disjointed. It doesn't coincide with anything. Like, even they say that they don't believe in life after death, okay? They don't believe in life after death, but yet they say there's a resurrection. I mean, they say and I used to say, when you die, you're dead. But if somebody asked me, well, will there be a resurrection? And I would go, yeah, there's a resurrection. So that means that you're sleepy. Okay, so it doesn't make any difference. That means you're not dead. I mean, if you believe in the resurrection, if you believe that there's a new system and then there's a resurrection, then that means that you're not, when you die, you're not dead. Okay, so but everything is like that with the Jehovah's Witnesses, meaning that they're not governed by God, no matter what. I mean, you can go to one of the strict religions, very strict, and not like what's going on. But still and yet, if you get out, you still know that you still know that you're taking something with you, that your relationship with God, it's not going to be hindered. Whereas the Jehovah's Witness, they don't have a relationship with God. So when they leave, they have to find him, okay? And like for me, okay, I'm a very strong person, and this is what I feel, and not just me, maybe other ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, but I could feel that there was something else. And I really, God is the one that helped me get out, okay? Most likely because he knew that I was able to do something, or he wanted me to do something, or something like that. That's the only thing I know, okay? But as I'm just talking about all the other Jehovah's Witnesses. They're nowhere. It's like, it's nothing there, is what I'm trying to say. And I'm answering this, this one, we were make-believe. It was make-believe. But okay? And for the major part, I want to say for the major part, everybody's one. I mean, like, they discount everybody, okay? Which is, you got to know which side they're on, because they discount all Christianity without even examining anything. They say the world empire of false religion. Excuse me. That's a big deal to for an organization to discount all of Christianity. And who's doing it is not them, it's the governing body that tells them to do that, and they just follow. They say, okay. But how can humans be together as one? I mean, we have government, and we still, it hooks us together, it puts us together for some things. And then you have Christianity and you have Jesus, okay? And that puts us together as one. Another thing with Jesus, they don't really believe in Jesus. I mean, I studied it, I did everything. Not one time, I mean, Jesus was just, okay, he wasn't really that powerful in their views. I even left the Jehovah's Witnesses and I was saying that, oh, Jesus just had it easy. You know, Jesus just had it easy. I was saying that, and wow, did God show me that that's not true. I wish I never said that, but I had to go and I learned the hard way that yes, it was a big deal. So what I'm saying is they don't even, that's disjointed. That's not there, okay? So you have Jesus is not there. One, everybody's together as one, Christians together as one. They don't have that. They're not Christians because they said they're not Christianity. Now, speaking about us being one and they're not there. Okay, like I'm going to give you an example of languages. And I studied languages because not so much that I want to learn the language, yes I do want to learn language, but I was always searching at how does language work, you know? And because I kept with the studying, I found one thing, because I just didn't want to, it's not to say that I just don't want, it's the way my mind works, okay? It will not accept anything unless it can validate it and put it together with everything else. So that's why it was hard for me to speak another language. So I kept going and I took the language in college and I passed and everything, but I got a B. You get an A if you're really, fluent and everything like that, but I got a B because I've made all my classes and stuff like that. But I kept doing the Spanish, and little by little. And then all of a sudden I could understand. And this is the way I wanted to go. I wanted to see what it was. I mean, if you just learn the language like rapidly and just do it subconsciously, you get to see that you don't get to see anything. You just do it. Like people who are born with speaking 2 languages or 3 languages, they just switch from one to the other. But they don't know what they're doing. But I wanted to know what I was doing. And then I kept learning Spanish, and I could keep working with people who speak Spanish. And I started understanding. But I did it, the way I did it is I know where it's going. I know what's happening. That's what I wanted. I wanted to know what was happening. I just didn't want to speak the language. I wanted to know what was happening. And then all of a sudden, when they would speak, it was as if they were speaking English. And I go, wow, that's strange. It's like, and somebody else told me that too, who's to learn Spanish. They go, it's English, okay? Well, they were speaking English, and they go, I think, no, they didn't say it was English. They said that they think in English, okay, all the time, even though they speak Spanish. But then I kept going, and when somebody would speak, I would understand, and it would be like, and I'm showing you how we all are one, Okay, so so I kept going, and then I would like wait. They would say something, and I would understand, and I would go, no, it's not English. I said, it's, and I kept going, little by little. You have to do it little by little, because the simplest things are complicated. You put the simplest things in to show, so you can see the complexity of where they go. If you put difficult things in, you can't see the complexity, because it's complex and complex. You need a simple into a complex situation. So then I started going like, wow, it's not English either. And then I kept, because it keeps going, it keeps progressing. And then all of a sudden, I would learn more. And then I would say, wow, it's not English, it's not Spanish, it's something else. Until I found that it's a language. It's like, it's a pure language, okay? And it goes directly to what I'm feeling. So what I'm trying to say is that you think that they're saying things differently, but they're not saying things differently. They're saying exactly how you feel. So if I'm talking to you and you speak another language, you're actually understanding exactly what I mean. And if you translate what I say, you're translating exactly, if you do it the right way, you're translating exactly what I feel. What I'm trying to say is that the language that we all have is, we have this pure language. It's just, I see it. It just, I did it so long. Everybody has the same pure language. And what they do is they take from the pure language and they convert it into their language, and then they speak it. And then when they hear it, they convert it back to the pure language. But the pure language can be not sorted. The pure language can be, I hope you're catching me. You can make all these languages from this pure language that we all have. But the major point I'm trying to tell you is that we're all connected by that thing, okay? That's just one thing that we're connected by. So it's exact. It's exact. I mean, like, exactly. But your pure language and my pure language is exact. I don't care what language you speak. But the only thing is, you do have customs, and you do have different ways of saying, and you have different ways of, how can I say, describing things, okay? So you might learn something in another language, and you might say, wow, we never looked at it that way. But it's all one pure language. Now, getting back to the Jehovah's Witnesses is what I'm trying to say. You can't break away from everybody else in the world, okay? You can do it, but you can't, as far as God is concerned, in his message, you cannot cut people off and then say that and develop this new language and develop this new thing, because it doesn't make any sense. Like, for instance, they say the world, and they say, and now they have a ministerial servant, and now they say they have a publisher. Well, you got to explain what those things are. That's why I'm trying to say it's make-believe, because it goes on the lines of make-believe. It doesn't connect with everybody's pure language, and we do have a pure language. So I hope that this is now I'm going to go to fantasy, Okay, so what I see Jehovah's Witnesses, they have like there, and then they have a governing body. There's nothing that can get in. You can't talk to them. They can't talk to you. That's the thing is, if you want to help them, you can't talk to them. You can't like say, well, this goes this way, this goes this way. It can't because they're blocked. They're blocked by the governing body telling them what to do. I did it. I mean, nobody could talk to me. I went to the door and people were trying to tell me what the way things are, and it was blocked. It was like, and I didn't even feel bad. I didn't even feel embarrassed. It's like, oh, I mean, so many times I should have been embarrassed. Now I would have to listen when somebody says something, and I would have to figure it, and I can sort it and things like that. But when I was Jehovah's Witness, it just didn't make a difference. I didn't care. Went to the next door. I wasn't embarrassed, and I didn't feel guilty or anything like that. So that's what I'm trying to say, is that they're disconnected. And the thing about it is, they can come out, but they still need time to learn about who they are. Now, an interesting thing, is fantasy. They're not in a fantasy, okay? We have never said anything or I felt anything about a fantasy. He said we were in a fantasy. Yes, we were make-believe, but don't feel bad. I mean, we did the same thing you did. So I don't want this person to feel like they're different. They're not different because I felt the same way. But as far as a fantasy, they're not in a fantasy because Christians do have a fantasy. And the fantasy is like, for instance, in Revelations, it's all fantasy. But only, it's true. It's fantasy, but it's true. It's like, the reason why I say it's fantasy, so Christians could not, the Jehovah's Witnesses couldn't handle a fantasy. Because it's disjointed. Everything is disjointed. One thing here, one thing there, one thing there. They would not even put up with the fantasy. I do believe that Christians have a fantasy, but the only thing about it, the Revelations, is all fantasy. But it's true. We know that it's real somewhere. And who makes that real is God. He makes it real. He's the only one that can make a fantasy real. I can make a fantasy in my mind and it can come true. So there's nothing wrong with fantasies. I have a Christian fantasy like all the other Christians have a fantasy. It's a fantasy. It's just like there's even literature, Christian fantasy. But in all the fantasies in the bookstore, believe me, those fantasies that theirs are the closest to the truth and can happen. Okay? As far as the Christian fantasy is concerned. I used to love Christian fantasy. But anyway. So anyway, and they go, Christian waiting for, he said waiting for Jehovah. Okay, first of all, I want to really honestly say there's a Jehovah. I don't know who it is. I mean, I know that I don't know if it's a spirit or something like that, but I would think it would be a person. We don't know who's running the Jehovah's Witness, but it has to be one person. That would be their Jehovah. Because there's somebody pulling the strings, and nowadays you're global. You can't fake a system. I mean, they can fake the system for Jehovah's Witnesses, but at the top, there has to be somebody who deals and does things and make big decisions, and not the Jehovah's Witnesses are going to be able to make those kind of decisions. So their Jehovah is the one that's pulling the strings, okay? I mean, they had them before. They used to expose them. They used to have the head, like for instance, the guy who bought the mansion, he was waiting for Moses. I mean, he was the head of the religion. And now I think they just it's secret. It could be somebody in a congregation, you don't know who it is, but there's one person, and that would be their Jehovah. And he most likely getting his directions from who. So they do have a Jehovah. Whoever makes up all these rules would be their Jehovah because they're following them to the T. And they think they're following God, but that's where we come in, is that we have to do our work to let the people know that they're not following God. So, and I got this straight. I hope you listen to the thing about the fantasy too, because that's very important. Christian fantasy is very important. It's the only fantasy that can come true, that will come true, and we can see it come true. So I hope everybody enjoyed this one. I hope I'm doing better. Believe me, I'm trying to do better. I'm doing notes and everything, and I'm reading my comments. I mean, I read my comments, but a lot of people got to know that the comments, because there's so many, I mean, there's a lot of different comments that come in. Just right now, I don't really have a problem because there's not as many comments. But, you know, I don't know how I'm going to set it up if I should get more comments. So thank you very much. I appreciate everybody, all of you, everybody who comes to my station. Thank you very much. Love you all. And look forward to the next YouTube.